welcome to Dear Corinne. It's great to be here with you. So I have a letter from an anonymous person, and so tonight we're going to talk about overcoming fear and perfectionism, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. It's something that we all kind of deal with every now and then. So let me just go right into it. Dear Corinne, I've struggled with fear my whole life. I'm afraid of looking incompetent and stupid. This fear keeps me from trying new things and learning new things. I'm also afraid of getting hurt if I do try something new. When I was young and learning to ride a bike, I fell frequently. I decided that it wasn't worth getting hurt, so I stopped, and I never successfully learned to ride a bike. I felt like other new things would have the same result, so I didn't even want to try. I also have struggled with perfectionism. If I can't do it perfectly, then it isn't good enough. I have worried that if my parents, family, friends really knew how not perfect I was, they would be disappointed in me. I try really hard in lots of areas, but I simply fall short of my unrealistic expectations. I do not expect others to be perfect, just me. I don't know why I'm so hard on myself. I would like to be excited about learning new things, and I would like to be accepting of my own efforts and accomplishments. Lacking. So first of all, just so you know, feeling fear and feeling like you want things to be perfect is normal. We all feel that way from time to time. And trying new things is scary because you're being vulnerable and there is a chance that you could fail. You could look silly doing something new and not being very good at it. So that is a real fear when we're vulnerable, when we do new things that we've never done before. When we are beginners, then it is, we're not going to look competent because we're not yet. We haven't developed the skills yet. So our brains have 3 goals and 3 jobs. And one of them is to conserve energy, and the other is to seek pleasure, and the third is to avoid pain. And one of the pains that our brain tries to avoid is emotional pain, the feeling of being vulnerable, of being seen as not competent, that our brains do not want to experience that, and so we try to avoid it at any cost. And sometimes one thing we do is avoid or distract so that we don't have to feel that vulnerability. And so it's totally normal. It just means that your brain is doing what it's supposed to do and it's protecting you. And you can thank your brain for doing that for you, for keeping you safe and keeping you from looking foolish and not being accepted by your peers and your family and your friends and everyone. Just like you said in your letter, you are worried that if your parents, family, friends really knew how not perfect you were, they would be disappointed. We all have that kind of worry inside of us that we want others to not be disappointed. We want others to be pleased with the things that we do. And we also want to be happy with what we do. We want to please ourselves in some ways too. So first of all, let's talk about this feeling of fear and how to process it. So when you feel that way, you can do some things like breathing, just breathing deeply. You can ask questions like, what's the worst that could happen? If I try this new thing and I appear foolish, what is so bad about that? Am I going to die? No, probably not. Are people going to laugh at me? Well, maybe they will laugh at you. Is that the end of the world? I mean, what would happen if people laughed at you? That sometimes just asking questions can be enough for your brain to be solving that problem. So if you present to your brain, oh, okay, what if people laugh at me? What if I appear incompetent? What if I appear foolish or stupid? Then again, that can go to another step. Am I stupid? No, I'm not stupid. And you can you can create proof for yourself of things that you've done in your life that were not stupid, that were not incompetent. And we can actually create journals and create books that show us the things that we've accomplished, that prove to ourselves that we are not stupid or incompetent. And so when we're having those days when we don't feel confident, we can have this confidence book and pull it out. And I've done that before, or have it in our journals so we can go back and read through it, and that can be something really helpful too. So yeah, questioning. So what if you appear foolish, or when you're beginning something, like I just started playing cello in 2020, and sure, I was just like the 3-year-olds. I was playing tucka tucka stop stop, and part of me was like, oh, this is so embarrassing. I'm an adult. I should be able to play the cello. But I was like, wait a minute, should I be able to play the cello if I've never played it before? Should you be able to do anything perfectly that you've never done before? Of course not. That's just silly to think that. And yet we do sometimes expect that of ourselves. And so you're not alone in that at all. We all do that. We want to appear like polished and perfect, and so that everyone will think well of us, including ourselves. So let's go to the fear of getting hurt. Again, that's our brains wanting to protect us. So the chance of getting hurt when you ride a bike is real. That is a real possibility that you could get hurt. You could fall. You could your tire could go flat. You could miss the pedal, and the bike could hit you and bruise you and cut you. And my 2 boys love to bike, and they come home sometimes, or when they were teenagers, they would come home with blood just dripping down their legs. And obviously biking is a dangerous thing, and people could not see you, and so sometimes the fears that we have are real fears, like actual fears that are true. Like you could get hurt doing some of these things that you want to do. But we could get hurt getting in our cars. We could get hurt doing a lot of things. But we go ahead, we can comfort ourselves and say, it's okay, I appreciate you trying to protect me, you're doing a great job, but I'm going to go ahead and get in the car anyway. I'm going to go ahead and get on the bike and ride it, because I want that experience of riding the bike, and I'll try my best to be safe, and I'll watch for cars, and I'll make sure the tires are inflated, and whatever else you can do. But so sometimes we have to be the adult to our brains. Our brains are kind of like the 2-year-old, and we just have to say, it's okay, you're going to be okay, and that's okay to do that, and that's okay to be your own sort of parent. And so and one other thing you said, I decided that it wasn't worth getting hurt. So sometimes trying new things and learning new things will get us hurt. We will get hurt. I've cut myself with a knife before when I didn't know how to use it. I got a brand new mandolin. It was this awesome vegetable slicer. First time I used it, I sliced my thumb, and it was bad. That thing was sharp, and I didn't want to use it after that for a while because it was really dangerous. But I went ahead and used it anyway because it was a really awesome tool, and I just knew that I needed to be really careful because that blade was really sharp. So, we can learn from the times that we do get hurt. We can just say, oh, don't do that again, and just kind of use that as a stepping stool to your learning. That now you know what not to do. So that can be something really, really helpful. Perfectionism and fear are kind of tied together. A lot of times we are afraid that if we present something that's not perfect, we will not be accepted. We won't be part of the group. And so it's very important to us emotionally to belong to a group, to a family, a group of friends, neighbors, whatever. And so that is a very real thing that we all need to feel like we belong. We want autonomy, we want to belong, and we want competency, right? And so that feeling of presenting something that's not perfect, and that it's not good enough unless it's perfect. My husband has a saying, C's get degrees. When our kids were in college, they would say, Mom, I've got to get an A. If I don't get an A, and we're just like, no, C's get degrees. And even now in our jobs, who asks us, if we got an A, or who even looks at our GPAs at this point in our careers? A lot of times people don't even know if you have a degree or not. So really, a lot of times those things just don't matter, So doing the thing, and just even if it's a C effort, like that's still better than not doing it at all. Like if you get up off the couch for the first time and you go for a walk and you say, oh yeah, I only went around the block. Well, at least you went around the block. You could have just stayed on the couch and done nothing. So really, I think self-compassion can go a long way. Like, at least you did this. At least I did this. If I was really afraid, I would just stay at home and do nothing ever. And so at least you're doing something, and that is amazing. And so self-compassion and like looking at what we do, even if it's a C, even if it's not perfect, it's okay. And just being okay with what we produce. And a lot of times self-love can help with that, and we have to practice self-love. And so because we get so used to like harping on ourselves and, oh, that was terrible, and why did I say that, and so if we can just say, hey, that was good, that was good enough. Sure, it wasn't perfect, but nobody's perfect, and this is what I can do now. And so really just respecting ourselves. I think, like, you wouldn't treat your best friend that way. If your best friend did her best and she presented it, and you wouldn't say to her, oh, that was terrible, why did you even bother? But we sometimes say that to ourselves. So anyway, I hope that helps. Again, the tools that I want you to use when you're feeling fear is just to allow it, and just to recognize that that's your brain trying to protect you, and then just let it go through you and go ahead and do the thing anyway, even though you feel the fear. And it will get easier. The more that we do it, it gets easier. And then with this perfectionism, maybe adding the word yet is sometimes helpful. If you can say, I'm not perfect yet at this thing, or I'm just barely starting, I'm just learning, I'm learning how to do this. So sometimes we can offer our brains those ideas or those phrases that will appease it or help. If we try to say, this is good enough, our brain might reject it. So we want to have like a bridge. Yet, I'm not perfect yet, I haven't learned this skill yet, but I'm learning. And so sometimes that can be really helpful so that you can go ahead and do the thing. So anyway, thank you for your letter. I hope that was helpful to you, and know that you're not alone, that fear is a thing we all feel, and perfectionism is real. And so we just need to recognize it for what it is, and just go ahead and do the things anyway. And more power to you. And thank you for writing in and being vulnerable. It takes a lot of courage to admit that we're afraid sometimes, and that's a really good first step. Just putting it out there and naming it and saying, okay, I'm feeling afraid to try new things. And so yay for you. And just doing that, I think, will help you feel more courageous. So okay, thank you so much. Go ahead and send in your letters, and let's talk about this. We're all in the same boat together, and so we can learn from each other. And I think it's really useful and beneficial to hear other people's struggles, and you know that you're not alone. So have a wonderful night, and hope to hear from all of you with your letters. And you're doing great, and see you next time.